A year ago, I hit rock bottom. My body was failing me, my marriage was falling apart, and I felt trapped, both physically and mentally. I did not know how I was going to turn things around. As a last-ditch attempt, I turned to the carnivore diet. I had zero expectations, but what happened next changed everything. Fast forward a year, I've lost 120 pounds. I'm getting my life back on track, and I have never felt better. The carnivore diet has been nothing short of amazing, but it hasn't always been easy. So in today's video, I'm sharing with you my biggest life lessons over the last year, so you can avoid my mistakes and have a much smoother journey. So if we're just meeting, my name is Claire, Carnivore Claire. On this channel, I talk about all things carnivore diet or WOW, and we also talk about weight loss and chronic illness as well. So if that's your jam, do hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get into the first life lesson. If you do not believe you can win at life, just start anyway. Have you ever been in a position where you know you need to make changes, but inside, deep inside, you do not believe that making those changes will change anything? You do not believe you can succeed? Well, this is where I was at a year ago. As I said in the intro, I was at my wit's end. I didn't think anything would work. I tried loads of things, nothing would stick. So when I did start the carnivore diet, which was on the advice of a few other people, I was like, this is not going to work, nothing's going to happen. And now look where I'm at. You do not need to believe that the thing will be successful in order to give it a try. For my own personal experience, I had been through the ringer in my life over the last 10, 20, my whole adult life really. I've been through the ringer and I had no confidence left. I had no motivation. I must have had a little bit of motivation because I did do it in the end. But I just was on the brink of giving up. Leave me a comment down below if you can relate to what I'm talking about. Just 2 weeks prior to starting the carnivore diet, I tried a SAD diet and I fell off the wagon within 10 days. I really had no belief in myself whatsoever. But there was some little nagging thing inside me that said, you've got to give this a go. In the beginning, I told myself I was going to do it for 30 days, that's it. So it's not a huge commitment. So just give it a go for 30 days. And once you start to see results, something amazing will happen, which leads me on to lesson number 2. Shedding the old you mentally is just as important as losing weight. Losing weight isn't just about losing the pounds, it's also about losing the habits, the identity and the mindset that you had. So I have ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, and before I started the diet, I was in a vicious cycle. Because I had no energy, I was eating junk. So I was eating crisps, candy, chocolate, whatever I could get my hands on, because it would give me energy. I could be laid up, unable to do anything, and I'd eat that stuff and then I'd get a surge of energy and feel amazing. But the only problem is it didn't last long. As soon as my blood sugar come back down, I would crash and then I would need more junk to pick me up again. But what was happening was those habits, those bad habits that I had, was giving me my identity. I was putting on weight, therefore I saw myself as a fat person. Because I saw myself as a fat person, I saw myself as worthless. And then my behaviours would reinforce themselves. So the habits would be that of someone who felt worthless. And so that just kept me stuck in the mindset that I was not worth looking after myself for. This is getting really, really deep, isn't it? The behaviours, the mindset and the identity was keeping me safe from the world. I felt hurt, I was going through a lot personally, and I was able to protect myself in this bubble by these behaviours. So there was a dopamine reward to these behaviours, but in order to see long-term success, I had to be able to break those habits, and I could only break those habits if I started to change my mindset. And that didn't come until I was further along within the carnivore diet. As I spoke in the last point, at first, the carnivore diet, I didn't believe it was going to work. I was just giving it a go. And then in the second month, I started to lose a bit of weight. I think I lost 20 pounds very quickly, very easily. And it made me reassess things. It made me think that I could possibly do this, and actually made me realise that I want it as well. Once I was into the carnivore diet, once I started losing weight, I then started feeling better about myself. My energy picked up a little bit. I was able to do some light walking, and one step led to another, all because I was able to accept the changes, embrace the changes, and basically watch a new me emerging. As your body changes, so does your relationship with food. And that's where it gets really, really interesting. You don't have to think about food all of the time. A revelation, I know, but this was one of the biggest surprises of going onto the carnivore diet, was that the food obsession just stopped dead within about 3 or 4 days, actually. And I had spent my whole adult life, and probably a portion of my childhood as well, being completely obsessed with food. In that when I was awake, I was thinking about food. When I was trying to go to sleep, I was thinking about food. When I was hungry, I was thinking about food. When I wasn't hungry, I was thinking about my next meal. And anytime I tried to lose weight on the SAD diet, then it was a task bigger than Everest, if I'm completely honest with you. And I'd make a little progress, then I'd go back, then I'd make more progress, then I'd go back. And I had this yo-yo dieting thing going on. Well, when I went onto the carnivore diet, I omitted all carbohydrates. And within 3 days of them being out of my body, the noise just stopped. And I just didn't think about food. I was doing 2 MAD at the time, so I'd have a meal in the morning and a meal in the evening. And I was satisfied between it because my diet was higher in fat. It had wider effects than just the food noise though, because once I didn't have to think about food, or once I wasn't driven to thinking about food, then it freed my mind up to be creative, to be busy, to be productive. And in that way, it improved my mental health as well. Some people, when they go on the carnivore diet and they're told that they can eat until satisfaction, they can take it too far. In my experience and my belief, you cannot eat endlessly, which takes me on to my next point. Before we go to that point, can you give me a like and a subscribe? I would really appreciate it. It will help the algorithm to share me out further. If you are getting benefit from this video, do consider purchasing me a coffee. That's a little tip just to say thank you for the free content that I'm putting out. And especially if it's helped you, I would really, really appreciate that. I'm learning to drive. Learning to drive is not cheap. And that's where my money's going. So let's get on to that point. Calories still matter. So this one is controversial. There's 2 camps in the carnivore world. One is that calories do matter, and one is that they don't matter. And I do not subscribe to the idea that they don't matter. Of course, calories matter. And that is what I have found in my personal experience. With carnivore, there is no need to feel hungry. But if you think you can just eat and eat and eat, you're going to put on weight. So the first month that I was on carnivore, I didn't lose any weight. I was eating abundantly. I was eating as much as I wanted. That was the advice I was receiving. It was more important for me to become fat adapted at that time. And I would recommend that to anyone starting out, is to eat what you want for the first month or so. But then you're going to have to rein it in. Miraculously, I didn't put on, but I didn't lose either. I stayed the same. And then the second month I lost 20 pounds. But then what happened was it started going up again, and I started to get frustrated. Because by this time I had convinced myself that carnivore was the answer. It's going to help me turn my health around. I was going to lose my weight. And I really had it in my mind that this is a goal I wanted to achieve by the end of the year. And when my weight was dropping and then going up and dropping and going up, I wasn't getting anywhere. And I still think if I was eating as I was in that first month now, I would not be this size. I might have lost 30 pounds or so, but I certainly would not have lost 120. So I think it is really important that you are mindful about what you're eating. Now, I don't recommend that you are counting every single calorie. There's no point to that. When I was yo-yoing, I then incorporated fasting, so OMAD, eating once a day, and I'd eat what I want within that once a day, and that worked for a little while. And then eventually the weight started stagnating and I wasn't losing. So that was the point that I started looking at calories. So I just took 1 or 2 days where I would log what I was eating just to get a rough idea. And then I was adjusting that to the point where I would lose the weight that I wanted to lose. I wasn't too hard on myself. If I went over, I went over. Some days I went under, so it balanced itself out, but it enabled me to consistently lose weight. And that reward, because I was weighing daily, that reward was keeping me going, and the weight was just falling off of me. The main bit of advice I've got for this is to just listen to your body. Your body will tell you if you're not eating enough. It will tell you if you're eating too much. If you're eating too much, you're going to be really bloated. Portion control issues will resurface if you return to old habits. So once you get into the carnivore diet, you'll get into some kind of rhythm. You'll be seeing the success you want. But if you return to your bad habits, not even going back to carbohydrates, but just maybe eating too frequently, eating in response to emotional reactions, eating just because you can, then what you're going to find is your old habits and your old issues with food are going to resurface. Even to this day, over a year later, if I do certain things, my old eating behaviours, which were not good, they were disordered, that disorder still does return, and I have to monitor it very, very carefully. I went through a period of having a cup of tea. I thought a cup of tea is not going to hurt anything. It's not going to raise my blood sugar. It's not going to do anything. I would have a cup of tea with a dash of milk with stevia. And within a week, I was binging on food, binging. And I had to withdraw from that drink, which really broke my heart because it was the middle of winter. It was so cold and I was really enjoying that hot drink. But I gave it up, and it was the best thing I did because my appetite returned to normal. Also, sometimes I think if I can keep my carbohydrates to under 20 grams, so I stay in ketosis, then where's the harm? And I went through a period of trying to eat like strawberries or blueberries or nuts or other things. My appetite became ravenous, and even when I was sticking within the carnivore, I was eating far too much carnivore. I was constantly hungry. That food noise just came back. And if I didn't put a stop to it, I would have put my weight back on. So you have to be really, really mindful that you are not going to return to habits. These are habits that you have had for a lifetime. You cannot expect in a month or two to just overcome them and never go back to them. Carnivore, if you stick to it religiously, and that is having as little carbohydrates as humanly possible, but know your own personal limits, because what works for you is different for me, then you can succeed at this and you can change your habits. But what if you're eating the right foods, but you're still struggling on the carnivore diet? Then elimination is the thing that you need to go to next. You only know if a food affects you by eliminating it. People like to argue about what is allowed and what's not allowed on the carnivore diet. I'm pretty flexible within my own eating habits, but it's got to be a personal choice, because we react to certain foods, and what you react to, I might not react to, and vice versa. So we have to find the carnivore diet in a way that can work for us individually. For example, I like to include cheese in my diet. Cheese isn't technically carnivore, not strict carnivore. If it weren't for cheese, I probably wouldn't have stuck to the carnivore diet. It would have been too boring for me. I have ADHD, so I need to know that I can stay focused and stay determined and stay doing it. But as much as we do enjoy certain foods, some carnivore foods can cause inflammation. For example, in me, pork causes inflammation. And in the beginning, when I first started, I was eating a lot of eggs, because eggs are very nutritious. They have a lot of vitamins and nutrients, and I felt that was going to be helpful to me. But every time I ate them, my stomach would blow up like I was 9 months pregnant. It would be very, very painful for about 12 hours. And in the end, I decided I had to give eggs up, which was a big ask, because I was already reducing my diet down really quite far. I was eating lamb and beef at that time, and eggs and cheese, and that was it. And so I felt like losing the eggs was a really big deal, but I was in so much pain. So I gave them up for a few months, and then I randomly tried them again, and lo and behold, I wasn't allergic or reactive to them anymore. So an elimination diet, which is what the carnivore diet is, let's face it, but even within the carnivore diet, you can eliminate certain things if you are still having symptoms. Talking of eliminating things, I am currently doing a 30-day challenge where I am only eating ground beef or minced beef, and that is it. For 30 days. I am doing a video about it, so that'll come out once I finish the challenge. I've only just started, so it'll be a while yet. I'm going without cheese for 30 days. I cannot quite believe that I am doing that. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see the results of that challenge. Let me know if there's anything you want me to cover on that video for that challenge, like things that I found out. Talked about a lot, but once you really dial in your diet and you're in this routine of what's really working for you, there's one more thing that's going to take you to the next level. Fasting will increase success, but you won't be able to go back. Fasting can aid your weight loss, it can give you energy and lots of other health benefits as well. But added to that, it makes eating really, really simple. I love fasting because it really speeds up my weight loss. It makes the skin on my face look really clear. It gives me loads of energy. It controls my hunger, but sometimes I just want to eat like a normal person. When I was about 2 months into the carnivore diet, I began doing OMAD, 1 meal a day. So around 5 p.m. every day, I would eat as much as I wanted, and then I wouldn't eat again until the same time the next day. And I found this fantastic, and I loved it. And once I did it, I couldn't go back. But there are always those days where you wake up ravenous and you just want to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. You want to eat. As soon as I started eating more than 1 meal a day, my appetite would surge. My hunger would be insane, and I would feel sluggish, and I'd feel like weighed down, even though I was eating the same calories and I was just eating them in a different way. The weight loss slowed right down as well. When I moved into this place, I had about 2 weeks where I wasn't eating OMAD because I just could not get back on it, emotional issues and such. And the weight was going up, but I wasn't eating any more than I was when I was doing OMAD. So what I found is I always return to OMAD. I'm doing OMAD today. Within this challenge that I am doing OMAD because that is just where I feel the healthiest. And while fasting is really, really good, if you want to unleash lasting success, you've got to listen to the next lesson. Have you hit that subscribe button yet? Have you liked? If you do nothing else, just like the video, because algorithms love that kind of thing. Weight loss is easy when you focus on small, consistent habits. Most people fail at anything really because they're chasing perfection. It has to be done in a perfect way or it's not worth doing at all. But that is the wrong mindset to take into doing the carnivore diet. You will not be perfect. I am not perfect, but you can be a success as long as you have consistency over a length of time. You don't necessarily have to make extreme changes, but you just need to show up for yourself day after day. It's going to get boring. It's going to get really, really boring, and you're going to have to find coping mechanisms to deal with that boredom so you can stay on track. But if you do that, you are consistent every day, showing up for yourself, you will over time see the changes that you need to make. This is the thing that was different for me doing the carnivore diet versus the other diets that I tried. And because on this diet, my insulin is regulated, I lose that insulin resistance, I lose the food noise, I lose everything, I lose the carbohydrates, I lose everything. That enables me to stay focused on the consistent changes every single day. I will say weighing myself daily was a big part of that because I was losing like half a pound most days. And so that really enabled me to go forward. My tummy keeps rumbling because it's 3 o'clock now. I've got 2 more hours until I can eat. So losing the food noise and all of that enabled me to stay on track with those consistent changes. Versus on the previous diets, because I was eating a lot of carbs, I would get hungry after like maybe an hour of eating and I could think of nothing else until I was eating again. And that made being consistent, making those small changes every single day, it made it real hard work, and it made it next to impossible to actually just stay on track and stay focused. Whereas on the carnivore diet, I was able to focus on other things. And so I was able to focus on my mindset shifts, on the consistency, on the small changes. If you're going to do the carnivore diet like me, then you need to understand this is not a short-term measure. When we often start a new diet, we think, I'm going to do it until I lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds or however many pounds you need to lose, and then I can go back to eating how I was. You can't do that on the carnivore diet because you are eliminating carbohydrates. Once you start eating them again, your weight will go on again. And so you've got to approach a carnivore diet as a lifelong change. Do I want the comfort and the enjoyment of carbohydrates? Or do I want to look and feel my best? Because I tell you, when I look in the mirror now, there isn't a single carbohydrate in this world that tastes as good as what I see in the mirror. And to stay on track, there is one habit that will make all of the difference. Document your progress. You will be thankful later. Take photos, track non-weight victory, and write down how you're feeling. There are just a few things that you can do in order to track your progress. When I decided to start carnivore, I don't know why, but I just decided to start this channel and document my progress because I thought it'd be quite an interesting little project to do. Even though at the beginning I didn't really think this was going to be a success, but I thought, well, if it is, then I should be documenting this because I had lost a lot of weight in the past, in the distant past, and I don't really have much documentation of that. And when you've lost weight, especially if you're gaining it again, which I did go on to do, then you forget how feeling slim felt because you're just trying to fulfill those needs to keep yourself happy, i.e. the junk food. So I am really, really thankful and grateful that I have this channel. I can go back and watch the videos at any time I want to. I kind of don't because I don't like looking at those earlier videos of myself. but they are there if I need the inspiration. A few videos ago, when I did my 365-day update, I had to go back and find some fat footage to put in to really highlight how far I've come. It was like looking at another person. Honestly, I did not recognise that person, but obviously I knew it was me, and it actually brought a tear to my eye to think back. But I'm really grateful I have that footage, because that will enable me anytime I'm having a moment of weakness, anytime I think the carnivore's not really working. And so I can just go back and it will give me a reality check, basically, and say, this is where you're at. This is where you're at now. You've come so far now. Don't give up. It's going to really help you to have that. Now, you don't have to start a YouTube channel. Not everyone wants to be on YouTube, but you could film yourself just for yourself on your phone and then just keep it on your phone. No one else has to see it. And another reason to document it is, like, when you are looking at yourself, you will have to become obsessed with yourself in order to make this work. You cannot just think, oh, I'm going to do the carnivore diet and just only think about it at meal times. That's not going to work. You have to become obsessed. You have to have, like, every waking moment is about how you can improve yourself. Not necessarily about the carnivore diet, but how you can improve yourself. So for me, it was thinking about what I'm eating, but also the exercise I was taking, the rest I was getting, the supplements I was taking. If you would like a video on the supplements I'm taking, I've taken quite a lot, then do let me know. And when you do become obsessed with yourself, you are going to be monitoring yourself every single day. You're going to be looking in the mirror multiple times a day. You're going to be taking footage, photos and videos of yourself every single day, and you are not going to notice those incremental changes. But if you can look back on maybe a month before, 2 months before, you're going to look at those old pictures and think, wow, I've actually come so far. And it's going to help keep your momentum going. It's going to help you get what you want out of life. When you're going through a rough patch, you are feeling like it's not working, it's too slow, it's not worth the sacrifices that you're making, then you will be able to look back on your footage, on your self-reporting, and be able to see, wow, I have come so far. Talking of rough patches, let's talk about what happens when things don't go to plan. Falling off the wagon isn't failure, giving up is. So as you go through this journey, you will have setbacks. Life happens, things get in the way. But one day of failure, if you want to call it that, does not mean you're going to fail at the whole thing. It's just one day. We have to isolate the day or the few hours and then just get back on the wagon. I've had times, and when I moved in here, I had 2 weeks where I really wasn't very much on track, and I could have given up. And if I'd given up, I wouldn't be sat here making this video talking to you about my weight, which is now at my weight was 267, it is now 170. So for the British people, that was 20.8. Now I'm 12.2. What I always did, there were 2 things that I did that enabled me to carry on in those moments. The first one is I didn't beat myself up about it. It happened. That's the end of the day. As I said, life happens, things happen. And there is 0 point to beating myself up about it. My body will beat me up about it anyway, because I will have symptoms. So I'm not going to be hard on myself. And actually, in some cases, I saw it as a positive thing, because it reinforced why I was doing carnivore, and it made me stronger each time to stay on track. And now at this point, I hardly ever come off of the wagon. The second thing I did was I never ever let it defeat me. So I would always get back on the wagon the very next day. Sometimes I'd get back on the wagon the same day, but invariably it would be the next day. You are going to have days of failure. or days of lack of success, shall we call it. What is going to really halt your progress is if you fall off the wagon and you stay off the wagon. It's the only thing that will halt your progress. If you feel you struggled with consistency or that you failed too many times, this is your sign to keep going. I am your sign to keep going. And if you're wondering what else changes on the diet, watch this video next, 10 weird symptoms that disappeared when I started eating this way. It's really interesting what your body lets go of when you take care of it. Click to watch and I will catch you in the very next one. Bye for now.